A common question for our support team from new users of Chromperfect is, why are my changes to my chromatograms not being saved? So let's have a look at an example and an explanation of a common misunderstanding about data files within the software. If we open this simple chromatogram, we can see that there are some problems with the baseline which require some attention and minor adjustments. We could use the manual integration tools or enter an automatic timed event. For more information on these features, see our video on peak detection and integration. There will be a link in the description below. Now if we close the chromatogram, Chromperfect will prompt us to save the changes. But if we reopen the same file, it appears that the changes have not been saved. The difference between the original raw file and the processed bound file. To understand the operation of processing chromatography files and this apparent discrepancy, we first need to understand the difference between a raw data file with the extension .raw and a bound data file with the extension .bnd. In its simplest form, a chromatography raw data file is a series of data points which are collected over a given time and measure detector response. Chromperfect's algorithms will draw a line through each data point to form a chromatogram trace. However, this is only part of the process. In order to get meaningful results for peak names, areas, amounts, and baseline fits, the software also needs a set of instructions on how to process the data file. These instructions come from separate files, but again in their simplest form these are normally the method and calibration file. Another important aspect of a raw data file is the header information. This provides Chromperfect with the correct path and location of each of these files. If we look at the Processing tab within the Chromperfect method file, we see a set of parameters used to set the integration parameters, and also what calibration file to use. These are just a couple of the instructions the software needs to interpret the chromatogram successfully. There is, however, an inherent problem here. Calibrations are regularly updated with changing retention times and responses. The method file might also change from time to time. It is not uncommon for users to periodically make minor changes to the integration parameters, for example. As Chromperfect receives processing instructions from these external files, any changes that have been made since the file was acquired will potentially affect the reported results. Imagine you have to review a past analysis, but you realize the method or calibration has been updated and changed. Of course, you now have a problem. The results today are not the same as when the analysis was first acquired. For this reason, Chromperfect pioneered the concept of composite bound files. While a raw file relies on an external set of supporting files, a bound file contains its own unique method, calibration, manual integration, report, and other settings and supporting files. Therefore, Chromperfect still needs processing instructions, but does not need to reference external files, but instead reads the internal instructions saved with the bound file. When a file is saved, these files and settings will be updated. Consequently, the bound file represents a complete archive of the process run and contains a snapshot of all of the files that are required to generate a plot or report. Once a chromatogram has been bound, it no longer depends on the standalone method, calibration, SEC calibration, and format files which contributed to the integration, but are subject to change. Bound files may be created in two ways: automatically, through batch reprocessing, which can be at the time of data acquisition or afterwards, and manually, using the Analyze program. So let's go back and look at our original problem and reopen our file. We see here the user has made a simple mistake. They have opened a raw file and correctly performed the operation to save, or bind, their changes. But because they have not changed the accompanying method file, reopening the same raw file will not show the changes as the processing instructions from the file header is still referencing the original information. While the processing instructions for the raw file remains unchanged, the bound file has been successfully saved and the processing changes have been updated internally. If we open the bound file, we will see that Chromperfect has indeed performed as expected. To open a bound file, we first need to change the file type being displayed by clicking the pull-down option list and selecting Bound Files Only. Chromperfect will remember this choice, and next time it will just be bound files listed. As the bound file opens, we see the changes have indeed been saved. Of course, to complete this example and our discussions, we can look at how we might be able to make a permanent fix to our raw data file. Let's reopen our original raw file. Remember first to check the file type is correct. I am going to add an integration timed event, as manual integration settings are not saved to a method. A simple set baseline now event is suitable for this illustration. This time, rather than saving the changes to our bound data file, we will instead save the method file. The option to save our method and calibration is available from the File menu item. The method for this analysis is c:\cpdata\sampledata\amino.met. As we have already discussed, raw files have no internal method, so from now on, this raw file, and any others that reference the amino.met method in the file header, will now be processed with our new timed event at around 32 minutes. Now when we reopen our raw file, it references the new information within the method, and our problem appears to have been resolved. But has it? We have irreversibly changed the results of all older files that use this method. If there has been any retention time shifts from run to run, our new event might cause incorrect results due to a badly drawn baseline. Additionally, all future files that we acquire using our new amino method will now show the same timed event at the same spot in the run. If this is problematic, then we might need to move or delete our timed event, which means we are right back to where we started if we ever want to open this specific file. This problematic behavior with raw files and methods is the reason we always recommend bound instead of raw files. We strongly recommend that the file prompt within the Analyze program is always set to show only bound files. By default, all Chromperfect methods will create a bound file beside the raw file after every data acquisition run. We strongly recommend that users only use the bound files in their daily operation of the Chromperfect system. In that way, you can be sure that you are referencing the correct plots, results, and reports for chromatography data archive. So why does Chromperfect still offer access to raw files? There are some advanced features of the system which can only be completed by using a raw file. However, this is an in-depth topic and is covered in other videos on the channel, so please watch our playlist about the theory of chromatography if you want to find out more. Many of our customers work in highly regulated environments and must undergo regulatory audits. One of the key principles of data integrity is the rule that original data must be preserved. To address these problems, Chromperfect has separated these files and uses the extension RAW for raw files and BND for bound files. Raw files are untouched by processing and reflect the original data. Bound files reflect processed data. Bound files cannot be edited. However, they may be read by the analysis program and modified, and then a new bound file may be generated, overwriting the original. It is also possible to save a bound file as a different name if you want to have multiple versions of the same file. Batch processing may also overwrite a bound file. The file editor program can pull the raw, method, or calibration data out of a bound file and save it in a standalone raw data, method, or calibration file. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, that way YouTube knows to share it with other people. If you want to stay up to date on the latest developments with Chromperfect or want to be notified when we upload new videos, please consider subscribing to our channel and hit the notification bell for when we post new content. Also, please consider following Chromperfect on Facebook or Twitter. If you want to find out more about Chromperfect, please visit www.chromatography.com or call our team on 973-586-8551.